Good morning and welcome to another episode of Made for Oysters. So we're going to do improvements to the knife, we're going to do improvements to the mill, we're going to do milling some cases, a lot of stuff going on. So better get started. Yesterday I programmed the new program for Op 2, which is the top side of the blade. Let's get that going. So it's now milling the blade and it's going great. This is a 2-hour program per side, so that means I have some time to do something differently. What I'm going to try to tackle is coolant filtering. So the machine works like this. It sprays a lot of coolant and then it comes down in here, and there is here a mesh that filters the coolant and the chips. But this mesh is really coarse, and what I found is that there are quite a lot of chips in the tank already, only after 1 or 2 months of use. So what I did is I ordered a finer stainless mesh on AliExpress. Yes, AliExpress, I know, but when you have a Chinese mill it doesn't matter, right? So I have 120 mesh, which I still need to unpack, and 300 mesh. And this, if it focuses a bit, it's really fine, so that will clog everything up. But if I can pre-filter it with 120 mesh, we might be able to, get a lot more stuff filtered before it even reaches the tank. So I'm gonna sew 2 baskets. This is 120 mesh, which is the coarser one. It's still really fine actually, it's much finer than I expected, but I hope that if I have a large enough surface area that the coolant will go out and the chips will stay in place. This week on Project Runway, this is amazing. You can actually cut this mesh and it's stainless with a regular scissor. Makes my life a whole lot easier. And luckily I have now these precision cut aluminium billets to keep it in place. I don't know if you guys ever watched Project Runway, maybe your girlfriend does it. They have fashion tape, so I'm tempted with the idea just to glue with some crazy glue, try to glue the edges together, but maybe it's better if I just hand sew it real quickly, make sure that's in place. So yeah, going great. Machine is doing fine as well. It's been running for 33 minutes. And it's going to do a tool change any minute now. I'm busy sewing the first corner, which is going, it's going okay. My fiance is making some new furniture for in the kitchen, and Arwen, she still needs her name tag, but Arwen is done with the first operation, and that looks as it's supposed to be. So I'm gonna put her in for the next. Hey, here's something wrong. She should have done a tool change. She should have done a tool change. I don't know what's happening. Let me open Fusion to see. I was trying to figure out what was going wrong, and I scrolled all the way down in my Fusion code, and it ends here at rule 5000 and a bit, which is supposed to be okay. Then that was the title of the program, and then I was scrolling through the controller, and here something went wrong. So I have a Op 1, which is only of 2, which is only the first one, which I made on Thursday, but I didn't have enough time to run it. And here's the program for today. So long story short, I ran the wrong program. Sorry guys. Yeah, not very good for me. I'll continue the rest of the program with the new one, but yeah. Dumb. Okay, so machine is now going again. When I was following it, I made a lot of tweaks in the changes for the 6mm anvil, and I was already noticing that it wasn't as fast as my processor was saying it was. But that was because I running the old program. So I'm rerunning the program. It's not doing anything, no cutting whatsoever, which is A, good so that I can install the new mesh filter, and B, I can see if the cycle time has really improved. So here you have my sewing skills. So it's not perfect, but it's quite, well, everybody can see what it is. And I hope to, with some magnets, stick it against the walls so that it will function for the time being. First I need to clean the filter. First filter is now in. This is where the original very coarse filter was. So everything is attached to the sidewalls with magnets, and we'll see if this works. My biggest fear is that it won't go quick enough through the mesh. That would mean that the entire system would flood. So that's definitely something to be careful of. As you can see, the chute is way over the edges, so I hope that decreases the chance of the edges folding over. And still, it's an additional filter. So everything's back underneath. Let's put the spindle back on because I paused it mid-coat. Turn coolant on. Let's immediately see if it goes through or if we're waiting for the flooding to happen. Let's turn the program on. Let's put it like that. Then it's at least making chips, and then I can see what happens. It's doing very light cuts because it's doing a 0.1mm step over. There are also so many other things that I'd like to improve on this mill. Like this is what I call the dark side. It's under the tool changer, and it really, well, it's darkness, so I want more lights in there. And also, you see the coolant hoses. I have one from that side, I have one from that side, but I also like to have one from this side. But I then need to buy some more lock line and string it around the spindle, which is not a problem, but it's just something that I'd like to do. One of the things that's also bothering me is that it's very white. This is Blaser Synergy 375, and it should be completely clear, but well, that's definitely not the case. And one of the reasons is maybe that I need an oil filter or an oil skimmer or an oil coalescer. So I've been thinking about that idea, and I really like the next gen technologies oil coalescer. Really good principle. The thing is, they're made in the US and they can't ship them via air freight for some reason. So when I Google and I see them on MSC, they're like $450. But if I try to buy them via the local suppliers here in Europe, they cost a whopping 1,100 euros. So 375 euros, which is $450, versus 1,100. For that money, I can buy a plane ticket, fly to Iceland, fly to New York, have it delivered at my hotel, see the Big Apple, and then fly back. It's like, it's madness. So I really need an oil skimmer, but not for that amount of money. So I'm looking for something different. Okay, let's do the engraving, and let's try not to plunge it 3 millimeters deep this time. Wow, the engraving is looking so much better already. When you zoom in really deeply, you can see like tooling mark, but for this, compared to the next time when it drilled like through the blade and then snapped off the end mill, really happy with that. Op 2 is ready, which is great. What I now need to do is Op 3, and last time the fixture is like the block's 20 millimeter high, but for Op 2 you make a pocket where the screw falls in. For Op 3 it's really on top of the fixture. And what I noticed that all the screws were loose and that the blade came up during milling. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some newly ordered longer screws. Then it should have enough holding power to really clamp it down. I do really like how snug it is in here. It's perfect. Really liking how it's cutting. It's now quicker, higher RPM, but the machine seems to handle it fine. So that should save me some time on the cycle. It's quite funny how you can already see the shape of the top blade being milled out. So that is another operation finished. So all morning I've been busy with programming the engraving. Like my big hero John Grimsmo, he has a complete template, and every time he finishes a knife and the value adds up, and then the next time he grabs that and you get auto numbering on the knives. The reality is I'm a one-man shop. I have yet to sell my first oyster knife made of the CNC mill. So I want a system that's easy, but I don't want it fully automated and spend 3 days doing that. So what I did was actually even simpler. So I have 20 codes, F1, F2, F3, F0. So F stands for the first letter and then the next one. So when this program finishes, I run up to the machine and I just go for the 0 program, which then adds number before it. So number 0, 1. And then the 1 is a different code. So I have all the codes on my machine, and I can now count to 99 without any problem, if the code works. So let's test that out. File. One. Input. Now I have the correct file. And now we should go for cycle start. Should do a tool change first to my spotting drill annex engraving drill. I now am trying it with flood coolant. I'm not going to do it that fast. Position looks okay. Open the door real quick to see if anything happened. I see a 0, but no number. I only did 20 of these, so probably they're all wrong for some reason. Let's see if the 1 works out. Once again, we go to Program, File, then go to Second. This is the second knife. Input. I see it too. Okay, the 2 is also very lightly engraved, so I might need to do a bit of an offset. But in the controller works. Just 1, 2, 0. It prevents me from every time having to post a different code to the machine. Oh, it the engraving mill hit the sidewall for some reason. So this blade it was aluminium, but it's now scrap as well. It's dumb little mistakes like this just in the very end, because the rest of it looks great. But dumb little mistakes like this are really killing. So this is the second prototype, and it's a whole lot better than the first one. The only thing that really went wrong here we have the engraving for the 02. That engraving can be deeper, but the mill bumped here is like, ugh, excruciating. Final last part of the product. But there are so many improvements, like this is the old one. So look at this engraving. This is where we tried to drill through the blade before we went engraving. And here you can see that the tab screws, they came loose because they were too short. And now you have this really big gouge. Here, second side, no problem. So while the mill is doing its thing, I just got awesome news. So I got a government grant subsidized to buy the mill. And they called me last week because I asked elongation of the project. You had 6 months to do it, but with this 4-month shipping time on the mill, we came very close. And I said to them, like, I'm this far with a knife. How far do you want me to be? Do you want it completely tumbled, anodized, all the finishing touches, everything 100%, or how do you want it? And he said, like, we're not judging the quality of your product. We are judging your process. So have you made the hours? Have you kept your budget? Have you spent the money? And so I said, well, yeah, I've done it already, all of them. And then they said, well, just send it in. And I just got it back the day after approved it. So I'm now officially debt-free. And that machine is all mine. Well, in a week when they pay it, but it's all mine. And it's just a great feeling to, you know, don't have debt on a machine like that. Because I can now keep it standing still and not doing anything, and I won't be going broke. And that brings me to another point, that my stock cabinet, I have 0 stock at the moment. I have no knives in stock. So I'm gonna work, I think, for a week on my regular products, not just on the new product, so that if somebody orders via madeforoysters.com, they can actually ship them out. You know, people want a birthday present and they're late and they say, can you ship it within 2 to 3 days? I'm capable of doing that again. So I'm gonna mill some cases on Awin, and Arwin is doing her thing over there. So do you ever have that you moan about something so many times that you just say, okay, I'll buy the solution? So I was video editing the Case movie, Made for Oysters 03, and I was complaining so much about not having a planer that I went on eBay, a Marktplaats here in Holland, and I found this one. It was around 160 euros, which is $185. It's a 2000 watt planer, and it's going to help me a lot in making cases. So this video is going all over the place, but yeah, it's definitely part of the story to get production going. On the inside of the blade, on the primary side, I can actually see some marks in here. They aren't there before the second of the third up when we do the flip. So that means that it's in the mold. So when I look in there, I see there's a chip, and that's pushed into the aluminium. And I'm now polishing it out with these mold stones. It's these kind of details that cost you your finish in the end. So yeah, let's do some polishing. Another advantage of the new filter is that it cleans up like super easy. Really, really, really easy. You just swipe everything away. Absolutely worth the $12 I spent on AliExpress on that. The workbee router is doing its thing out of the freshly planed beam from the planer, and the Syil is also doing its dance. It should be nearly finished. I think it's finished at 70,000 lines of code. And then we have another oyster knife, and hopefully we now do the engraving correctly. We've got another knife finished in aluminium still, so I'm gonna try and do a new engraving a bit more to the right, and hopefully we're not bumping this time. So a quick graph to see if we're actually making sense. Oh man, the moment you get comfortable, this machining, it bites you in the ass. It's terrible. So I hope I caught the machine on time. Well, probably not, because I see a lot of deformation. I have no idea what happened there. I had to do a tool change, and it didn't do that. And well, you can see how flat the aluminium is here. There was a serious bump, and tool is all gone, color is gone. Ah, it's like all of it's gone. You can even see the stamp of the color in the brand of the color in the knife. I have no idea why it did that. It had to do a tool change, then it would just go do a little simple engraving. So either it didn't grab the correct tool, or it overrode some value, or just slammed down, and I was too late on the brakes. It was excruciating. Oh, hopefully it still works. The spindle is turning. That seems to be going all right. I have to measure run out. Definitely killed the collet. No doubt about it. End mill was even flat on one side. So I must look like a machining noob now, which I am, but like a real unforgiving person who, you know, just types in code and hopes everything goes right. So I'm trying to figure out what went wrong, and it's here in the code already at the top. What we're doing is we're changing from tool 2 to tool 4. And tool 4 is the engraving end mill, but there is no G of T4, there is no G43 H06. So what happens is the post went in and it didn't do any tool changes. So the mill thought it had to continue with tool number 2, which has a much longer stick out. So it went all the way down, and where it would have stopped because the tool was reaching the blade, it didn't. It just plunged in, and I had the feed rates at 100%, and I was too late. And I'm racking my brain why it didn't post to tool change, and then I figured out it's doing that because I just did a post for the workbee. So I sent a freaking router code to Syil mail, and then the post processor didn't process the tool change. So that's what happened. I hope the mill is still all right. I did turn on the spindle. Everything seems to sound all right. The collet is definitely game over. Tool was into 4 or 5 pieces, so that's definitely game over. I hope the fixture is still functional. And here is where I'd like to have your advice. What should I check to see if the machine is still okay? Well, so yesterday was the day of the crash. I called with Eric from Silvertech. He was an awesome guy. Then I posted the video later that night, and this morning I woke up with like 14 YouTube comments and 20 Facebook comments with all tips on what to do. So one of the things I am doing is, well, measuring run out on the spindle, listening what it's doing. 0.01 millimeter run out, a bit less on the spindle. This is inside the taper. I'm trying to listen if I hear weird stuff in the spindle. I think I hear a very slight rattle at 1500 RPM, but it could also be my mind playing tricks on me. Yeah, well, I got a very long list. I'm already halfway through the comments yet with all these tips and setting up Fusion different, changing the post processor that you always see, which machine is running it, doing prompts for one machine that you always have to click yes, so that you would have to do another check on the machine here if you would post it from one machine wrong to the other. So yeah, there were a lot of things to improve, and I'm really grateful for all the help. Really, really grateful. I got thinking yesterday that I have this dial indicator for measuring run out, but it only measures to 0.01. And I found that if your spindle has more run out than 0.005, you should throw it away. So I'm trying to measure if my spindle is still okay with measurement equipment that isn't precise enough. So that's really why I like Hoffman. I ordered it on Thursday. It's now Friday, and then it's in. And now I can actually see and measure if the spindle is scrap or if it's still okay. But that will be for another video, because my tablet really doesn't have enough memory to keep video editing these long videos. So that will be another video, guys. Thanks for all the support. I really appreciate it. I got a lot of very good tips, and well, let's see if we can get the Arwen up and running again.